All right, welcome to another deep dive with us. You know the drill, right? You send us interesting stuff, we break it down, you get the good stuff without wading through pages and pages of text.
Exactly. We're like your personal research assistants this time, diving into a fascinating document on self-defense. Excerpts from The Book and the Sword, Martial Arts Self-Defense.
Yeah, this one's right up my alley. Always been interested in martial arts, but never really had the chance to dive in.
Well, think of this as less about the specific moves, more about the philosophy, the mindset behind protecting yourself.
Gotcha, so like the underlying principles that make someone an effective defender.
Yeah, and our mission today is to pull out the most compelling ideas from these excerpts, hopefully give you a good grasp of this approach to self-defense.
Sounds good to me. Let's get started. One thing that really jumped out at me was the focus on avoiding confrontation in the first place. There's this line that goes, "Only a fool tests where the water is deepest with both feet." What do you make of that emphasis on awareness and avoidance as the primary defense?
It's about recognizing that the best way to win a fight is to not have it at all. True strength and self-defense is about being smart, avoiding unnecessary danger.
Okay, so it's not about being passive or afraid. It's more about strategic thinking, avoiding a fight before it even starts.
Exactly. Think about it like this. If you can see trouble coming, why walk right into it? This is about proactively staying safe.
That's a good way to put it. So it's not about being a pacifist. It's about being smart and strategic in potentially dangerous situations.
Right.
Now, another concept that comes up a lot is center and balance. This is a very direct statement in the text. Lose your center, lose all. What's the significance of maintaining that sense of center, both physically and mentally, especially for someone who might not have a background in martial arts?
Okay, so imagine trying to do anything physical, like pushing something heavy while standing on one leg.
You'd be wobbly and weak.
Exactly, you'd fall right over. Physical balance gives you a strong foundation, whether you're attacking or defending, but center goes beyond the physical. Think about your mental state. If you're panicked or freaking out, your judgment's going to be clouded.
So it's like your reactions are going to be off.
Right. You're more likely to make mistakes. Losing your center, whether physical or mental, makes you vulnerable.
Makes sense. It's about having a stable platform to react effectively, both in your body and your mind.
Precisely.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The text also really emphasizes speed and decisiveness in self-defense. Speed is the essence of attack. It's pretty straightforward. Why are those things so important?
It all boils down to timing. If you hesitate, you're letting your attacker take control. Speed allows you to disrupt their momentum, seize the opportunity, maybe even end the threat before it escalates.
So speed is about taking advantage of openings and not giving the attacker the chance to dictate the situation.
Exactly. And decisiveness is the mental commitment to that speed.
Huh.
Once you've made the decision to act, you have to commit fully. You can't second guess yourself.
Right, that hesitation, that doubt can be costly.
Absolutely.
Huh.
That split second can make all the difference.
The next principle we want to touch on is the idea of adapting to the situation and using any effective means available. This one's pretty intense. In war, all means are right. How should we interpret this in the context of self-defense, especially when we consider the more structured world of traditional martial arts?
It's about prioritizing survival over sticking to rigid rules or techniques. If you're in a real self-defense situation, your goal is to protect yourself, period.
So it's not about looking good or sticking to a specific style. It's about doing what you have to do to stay safe.
Exactly. This idea suggests that if something else, whatever it is, has a better chance of getting you out of that situation safely, you should use it.
Even if it goes against the traditional techniques.
Yeah, forget the textbook. In that moment, it's about being resourceful, using whatever you have at your disposal. It could be an improvised weapon, your surroundings, whatever works.
So effectiveness over style. I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, another theme in the text is the mental aspect of self-defense. Courage, determination, they come up a lot. There's that quote, "A brave heart is half the battle." How crucial is that mental game, and how does it impact someone's ability to actually defend themselves?
Think back to the idea of center. A brave heart, courage, that's what keeps you steady when you're facing fear.
So it's about not letting fear paralyze you.
Yeah, fear can freeze you up, but courage gives you the strength to act even when you're terrified. And determination, that's what keeps you going, keeps you focused even when things get tough. That strong mindset helps you see things clearly, make better decisions under pressure.
So it's as much about inner strength, mental resilience, as it is about physical skill.
You got it.
Now, the text also hints at the importance of training, being prepared. It's kind of a cool line. Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. What's the wisdom in that, especially for people who hopefully won't ever face a serious threat?
It's about developing skills and awareness before you need them. That warrior in a garden is someone who's trained, so if danger does show up, they're ready.
So it's like practicing a sport or an instrument. You put in the work so when the time comes, you can perform.
Yeah, think of it like building a foundation of knowledge, of preparedness. That way, if you're ever in a high-pressure situation, your reactions are more instinctive, more effective.
It's like having that muscle memory, so you don't have to think, you just react.
Exactly.
Now, there's also this idea of understanding your opponent, especially if you can't avoid a confrontation. The text uses the classic, know the enemy and know yourself. In 100 battles, you will never be in peril. But how do you apply that in a real self-defense situation where you probably don't know anything about the person attacking you?
You might not know their history, but you can learn a lot in the moment by paying attention. How are they acting? What's their body language like? Are they aggressive, hesitant, focused, erratic?
So it's about being super observant, picking up on any clues that might tell you something about their capabilities.
Exactly. And knowing yourself means being honest about your own strengths and weaknesses in that situation. What can you realistically do?
Right. It's about having a clear picture of both sides of the equation, even in a split second.
That's the key.
So we've talked about a lot of proactive measures, but the text seems to emphasize physical force as a last resort. Given all the focus on avoidance, would you say that's an accurate reading?
Without a doubt. The fact that the text repeatedly stresses avoiding conflict suggests that physical confrontation should be the absolute last option.
So it's about exhausting all other possibilities first.
Precisely. It's about prioritizing de-escalation. That's what all the principles we've discussed point to. Awareness, staying centered, acting decisively to end the threat quickly. The goal is to minimize the need for physical force and the potential for harm.
It's about ensuring safety through the most peaceful means possible.
Right.
The text also touches on something I find really fascinating. The relationship between technique, the things you learn, and instinct, your natural reactions. How do you see those two things working together in a self-defense situation?
It's amazing how training can actually sharpen your natural instincts. When you practice techniques over and over, they become ingrained, almost automatic.
So when the pressure's on, your body just knows what to do.
Exactly. You might not even have time to think, you just react. But at the same time, your natural fight or flight response is going to kick in. The point of training is to make sure those instincts are aligned with effective self-defense principles.
So you're not just flailing around, you're responding in a way that actually helps you.
Exactly. The training channels those raw instincts into something more effective.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to touch on is this idea of continuous learning. The text mentions different schools or approaches, which suggests there's always more to discover in the world of martial arts. How does that apply to self-defense? Is it a fixed skill set, or is it something that evolves?
The fact that there are so many different martial arts styles and philosophies tells you there's always something new to learn, a different angle to consider.
So it's not about mastering one thing and then you're done.
Nope, not at all. Self-defense is a journey. You're always refining your understanding, your strategies. Plus, the world's changing, the threats are changing. Being willing to learn and adapt is key.
So it's an ongoing process, constantly evolving. Makes sense. So to recap, our deep dive into the book and the sword martial arts self-defense has revealed a lot of really valuable insights. We've talked about the importance of awareness, the role of balance and center, the power of speed and decisive action, the need for adaptability, the mental game of a defender, the value of training, understanding your opponent, using force only as a last resort, the interplay of technique and instinct, and the never-ending process of learning. It's been a really fascinating exploration.
Absolutely, and hopefully it's given you a solid understanding of these core principles without having to read through tons of material.
For sure. And for you, the listener, we hope this deep dive has provided some valuable takeaways, a new perspective on self-defense.
And with that, here's something to think about. How can you apply these principles to your everyday life, even if you never take a formal martial arts class? How can you be more aware, more prepared, navigate your world with a bit more of that warrior spirit?
That's a great question to consider. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time.